Hello again. This is the second part about Tal's openings, and in this part I will talk about Tal's openings based on his World Championship matches versus Mikhail Botvinnik. Tal achieved his peak in 1960 when he won the World Championship match against Botvinnik, and thus he became the youngest world champion at that time. He was in a very good form, and he also showed a lot of flexibility in the openings, as we'll see. Right, the very first game, we'll start Tal with white. He played e4, Botvinnik answered e6. One of Botvinnik's main openings. Tal went for the main variation of the French defense, e5, c5, a3, bishop takes e3, bishop takes a5. Botvinnik had some problems with that move in his match against Smyslov. And in this position, Botvinnik played queen c7. The most popular move is knight e7. White plays queen g4, the most aggressive move. f5 was played in the game, queen g3, knight e7. But Tal now takes on g7, and the match showed, this game showed, and also the rematch showed that such positions are suit very well for Tal. Very chaotic positions. Queen takes h7, c takes d4. And now Tal makes move king d1, which he also prepared before the match. The position is of course very sharp, and it's difficult to analyze everything here, but the type of position was very well suited for Tal. So king d1 was played. Now in that time, only one game was played with this position before, where black played knight e6. This was the game Grigorich Petrosyan, and after knight f3, knight takes e5. Black was under serious pressure because of bishop g5, very strong move with the idea when black takes on f3, then white has bishop d5 check. But Botvinnik prepared a novelty, and he played, instead of knight c6, bishop g7. The idea is that the bishop from d7 can become very active on a4. Black has different tactical ideas. And it's interesting that in this position, Tal played very principled. Met with a novelty. He played queen h5 check, and after knight g6, white can make a draw here by playing queen h7, when black is forced to play knight e7 again. But Tal said afterwards that this would have been a psychological loss, so he didn't consider much to repeat the moves here, and instead he played knight e2. This is the idea is to come with a knight to f4, and we'll see that Tal had a very good feeling for such positions. Knight f3, for instance, would have allowed bishop a4. Already here, bishop a4 was a possible move, but Botvinnik played here d3, c takes d3, check, king d1, queen takes e5, and now a very strong move, bishop g5, keeping black's king in the center. And white's idea is to attack here on the e file by bringing the rook via h3 to e3, what Tal also succeeded in this game, and Tal won a very good game. And after this game, Botvinnik didn't play the French defense again in the match. Instead of the French, he switched to Caro-Kann in the next encounter when Botvinnik was black. Black played e4, c6. In the third game, Tal played d3, sorry, knight c3, d5 and knight f3. This is what he played in this game. And after bishop g4, he made a showed a doubtful home preparation by taking on f3 with the pawn. And actually, this shows the level of home preparation that was quite poor. After g takes f3, e6, d4, knight d7, black has a strategically healthy position. And at home, Tal prepared here bishop e3, but over the board he thought that bishop f4 would be more active and better. Again, we see that the home analysis wasn't very deep, and he played bishop f4. But after bishop b4, black is doing fine here, h4, knight gf6. And although the game was drawn, the opening battle was won by black. And after that, Tal already played d4 against Karo-Khan. So d4, d5. He played a variation in this match, knight e4, bishop f5, knight g3, bishop g6, knight e2. This was his main preparation for against Karo-Khan in this match. But it didn't work very well. Botvinnik was getting good positions, and for instance, the game 9 was critical for Karo-Khan, for Tal's fight against the Karo-Khan. Botvinnik played here knight f6, h4, h6, knight f4, bishop h7, bishop c4, e6. In this position, in the game number 5, Tal played queen e2 and then bishop e3. He castled long, but achieved nothing. In this game, which I want to show you, game 9, the opening of game 9, he prepared another idea. He castled short, and after bishop d6, he sacrificed on e6. Take. This was a home preparation, but again it turned out that after queen c7, rook e1, black simply plays knight bd7, and white doesn't have sufficient compensation here. The most white possibly can achieve some sort of equality, dynamic equality, but this game was won by Botvinnik. And starting from game 11, so this was a 9th game, Tal showed a very flexible approach. He started the game already also with c4 or d4. He also played Karo-Khan later on, but for instance in 11th game he played knight f3 on the very first move. He played knight f3, and he shows that he can play various openings. This 11th game was won by Tal in positional manner, g3, g6, bishop g2, bishop g7, castle, c4. Botvinnik played here c6, and Tal didn't want to play d4 immediately because of the d5, these symmetrical positions. White has nothing, the position is too dry, if I can say so. So he played b3 instead. And after knight e4, he played d4, d5. Now white doesn't take on c4, bishop b2, bishop e6. Black wants to force white to take on d5. But white uses some small tactical trick to finish development, take on with the queen on d2. The point is that after d takes c4, white plays knight g5. So generally black wouldn't be happy here to give up the center. He played knight a6. So this is the 11th game. Rook a1, queen d6. Knight e5 was played, rook fd8, rook fd1, rook a8, and if we have a look at this position, it looks pretty closed. But Botvinnik finds an interesting idea. Tal finds an interesting idea, queen a5, to use some tactical possibilities. White threatens now bishop a3, and after queen c7, knight takes c6, b takes c6, queen takes a6. So some tactical ideas, and which forced black to take on c4, what is a concession, because white now has a center. And after queen c7, Tal kept the queen's pawn. Then he played e4 and had a better position. Black took on c4. So white achieved an advantage and Tal won this game in a nice positional style. In another game, in the end of the match, he started with c4. The game, I think, yes, the 19th game, he started with c4. Botvinnik went for f5. Botvinnik needed to try to play for a win. Now again, Tal shows a very little detail, but shows that he had some small ideas also in quiet openings. So we have the Dutch defense. Botvinnik was a great specialist of stone wall. When black plays e6, d5, c6, and has this wall of pawns. But Tal doesn't hurry to play d4. He plays g3, and if black plays e6, he wanted to play later on d3 instead of d4 and to play e4. So Botvinnik played here g6, which was a surprise because Botvinnik didn't play this before. Bishop g2, bishop g7, d4, d6, knight c3, e6, castle. Castle. White plays for e4 in this position, queen c2, knight c6, rook d1, and later Tal played here e4 and achieved advantage and won this game, and the match was finished very soon. There were 21 games. With the black pieces, Tal also showed great flexibility in this match. He played 4 different openings. He started with Benoni, so Botvinnik was a d4 player or c4 player. So he started with Benoni, then he played the Ninso Indian, then he switched to King's Indian. He also played even the improved Tarash defense. But in the end of the match, he continued with Ninso Indian. And thus, Tal, although he didn't have big analysis in all these openings, he was just searching for the type of position, opening which he liked most in this match, and he succeeded to do so. And in the end, he won convincingly this match and became the world champion. After less than a year, there was a rematch, and that was a completely different story. Tal was in a very bad shape. His health was very bad, and he also showed complete lack of flexibility in the openings. It was a complete opposite to the 1960 match. In that match, Tal played only e4 in all games, and although he had very big problems against Caro-Kann, for instance, he tried to play against Caro-Kann, the advanced pawn variation, d4, d5, e5, bishop f5, h4. This is what Tal prepared for the rematch against Botvinnik in 1961, and he was very stubborn to repeat it again and again, although in many games black was doing more than fine in this position. For instance, the 10th game of the match was, I would like to show here that it was a complete disaster for white in this opening after h4. That game continued h6, g4. Now Botvinnik doesn't go bishop h7 because of e6, and white gets initiative for the sacrificed pawn. No, he played bishop d7. The idea is that the black plays e6, e5, knight e6, very healthy strategical development, while all these pawns, advanced pawns, not clear if they give white something. After bishop d7, white played h5, c5, c3, knight c6. Black makes normal development moves, while the play from white is quite strange. Bishop h3, e6, bishop e3, queen b6. Now white played queen b3, c takes d4, Tal took on b6, took on d4. But of course all this leaves a strange impression, because now all these advanced pawns without queens clearly bring white nothing, while black has a very clear play here to play b5, knight c4, And this is what happened in the game. White had big problems and he lost. I remind you, this is the 10th game from the second match, Tal Botvinnik. But Tal continued to play again and again. E4, he made some small changes. Later on, he didn't play G4 immediately, he played knight E2, but always black was doing fine. Also with the black pieces, actually with the black pieces there was even more of a disaster for Tal. After 15 games, he played 8 games with the black pieces and he scored only half a point. This was more than a disaster. This was a tragedy to play half a point out of 8, which shows very clearly that something was completely wrong in the opening preparation. He kept on playing the Nimzo Indian. The Nimzo Indian, usually Botvinnik would start with C4 and knight F6. C4, knight F6, knight C3, E6, D4, bishop B4. Tal was very stubborn to play again and again. But this type of position suited better Botvinnik. And for instance, game 7, I'll show some moves from game 7, which was a complete failure of black's opening play after B6, F3, bishop A6, E4, D5. Tal tries to open the position, but this opening of the position will be in white's favor. The strongest move here is knight C6. After D5, white took, he takes D5, bishop takes F1, king takes F1, e takes D5. This position was played before the match, and black was doing fine. White continued here E5, and Botvinnik prepared a strong novelty bishop G5, and black has problems after this move. H6, now strong check on A4, queen A4 check, C6 was played, bishop H4, D takes C4, rook E1. White has a strong initiative if you look at the position, and this was the 7th game, and Botvinnik won convincingly this game. So the match was won convincingly by Botvinnik, and a part of why Tal lost this match was his extremely poor opening preparation, and of course there were many reasons for losing the match with such a big score. He lost the match 13-8. So Botvinnik took a clear revenge, but opening preparation was certainly a part of the overall disaster. Later, Tal became much more flexible, also in the openings, but we'll talk about this in the part 3, where my idea will be to show some games where Tal's play in the opening had influence on the opening theory. Thank you.